Happy Mother's Day. So today I want to recognize all the women in the world who have chosen to say yes to this particular vocation of motherhood. Now, it's a crazy time to raise children in this world, and any woman who has what it takes, who even doesn't have what it takes but still chooses to take on this true gift but true responsibility. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are an answer to my prayers and a real beacon of light and hope, not only for our families but for society at large. We can certainly speak of young mothers today who, because of their openness to life, have been blessed with large families. It's an incredible witness, a truly beautiful witness. But sometimes they face the scrutiny of society and this contraceptive culture of death. You have these other mothers who show us what it's like to say yes to the vocation at a young age. 30 years ago, women would get married in their early 20s, but now it seems like they get married in their early 30s. Women who choose to get married early, unfortunately, they find themselves at odds with our society's ideologies. But these women are an irreplaceable support and an irreplaceable sign of our mission in this world. And in this sense, they are a beacon of hope because they point us to the very purpose of our lives, the purpose of our vocations. No matter how much our mothers try to keep calm and maintain this image of perfection, of having everything together, to be honest, I don't think they have everything together. And I think they do a great job of faking it. You know, while we continue during this quarantine, we have a lot of our mothers who are experiencing homeschool education for the first time, figuring out how they're having to teach their children. And then you also have mothers who, you know, maybe they were able to maintain a certain calm and peace for the first week of the quarantine, but now it's kind of like a whirlwind just went through their home and there's chaos. Sometimes the mothers are having to support the fathers to really help keep the family financially afloat. And, you know, with a lot of these economic unforeseen circumstances, these mothers try to keep the composure to be the cornerstone for their families. You know, again, mothers, it's amazing. It's amazing how you do it. So thank you for that. It might appear impossible to keep all those issues, all these different variables that a mother has to suspend and do her best to keep together. And it might just not be possible. But as our gospel reminds us, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Ask the Lord to show you his way and to trust despite all the seemingly impossible circumstances that you have to face, that he will be by your side. Real quick, I think of my childhood and my mother when I was growing up. I just think of the living hell that I put my mom through. You know, this one time our family went on a snowboard trip, a ski trip up in Lake Tahoe. And I remember at the time I snowboarded very recklessly, thinking this is the only way to become better. Some of our family friends told my mother they saw me riding recklessly. So my mother sits me down on one of the first nights and shares with me what she heard. And knowing that I was caught red-handed, I told my mom, Mom, this is the only way I'm going to get better. You can't tell me what to do. This is my body. This is the only way I'm going to reach this goal of becoming a professional. So I understand this bothers you, but this is what I have to do. So I need you to trust me on this. So my mom responds first by trying her best to keep everything together, trying not to cry. And she goes, Daniel, this isn't just your body. Your body is mine. That is my body too. You know, at first I didn't understand her. I was like, what do you mean? I'm here in my body. How How are you saying that this is yours? But in hindsight, I realize how foolish I was. It's because of my mom. And it's because she carried me in her womb that I exist. And thank God my mom continued to go through everything she did and put up with everything that I was so that I could be here today. I really think about when Jesus Christ says, I am in the Father and God the Father is in me. And I think about the mother, and in a certain way, because there are always limitations to images and symbols, but in a certain miraculous way, the mother for us represents what Jesus is saying here in the gospel. I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Because when I think of the woman who carries in her womb, her child, even though this is another person, in a certain way they are together, one in being. They are united because she carries her child in her. And so in this beautiful way, she has a certain understanding that perhaps is more deep than what men can understand. A certain language that God communicates to all mothers, to have that certain sixth sense. Because all mothers know that when they give birth to their child, that this is their body given up for this child. But at this time, I also want to recognize those mothers in our social circles who have experienced the pain of losing their child. And this holiday becomes a reminder for them of the devastation of pregnancy loss. It doesn't matter how they lost their child. It doesn't matter if it was through abortion or if it was a miscarriage or a stillbirth. I can't imagine the pain you experienced during this day of celebration. I imagine, the possibilities you might be thinking of what could have been during this time. Please know, while you may grieve in silence, you're not alone. As our responsorial psalm reminds us, our Lord Jesus is always ready should we say, Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. Jesus knows, and as the living stone, he too was rejected by human beings. But like every one of us, even our unborn, he was chosen and precious in the sight of God. You too are a living, precious stone. Jesus has not forgotten any of us. So place everything. Place your pain, your sorrow, your misery, your fear, your grief. But also place your hope, your trust, and your love in him and him alone. Having faith in Jesus does not mean you're going to avoid suffering. In this life, everyone suffers. We're called to deny ourselves, pick up our crosses. But Jesus tells us not to let our hearts be burdened, because you are never alone in your suffering. So we thank Jesus Christ above all for teaching us what it means to be in total union. We thank him for being that bridge between us and God the Father. And especially on this day, we thank all our mothers for showing us what it means to place our hope in God by being faithful to what he wills, to accepting the gift of life and whatever else that life presents. So Mother Mary, Mother Fair Love, we turn to you and present these your daughters, and we ask that you bless them, especially on this day. Give your mothers the fortitude, and the wisdom to really lead our families, the cells of society, to know your Son above all, and in doing so, to be that bridge to bring the light of Christ to the world. Please help them in all their endeavors, and help them to know that they are not alone. Happy Mother's Day.